When you begin to talk to business leaders and professionals and ask them what the number one thing they would like to improve in their lives, one of the most common responses is managing their time. We approach this issue not with a time management program, but with developing a time strategy. As we proceed through this discussion, we will emphasize the difference. Let's begin with an understanding that time, much like wealth and wisdom, is a valuable resource. It's not to be taken for granted. There are only 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and so on. We cannot make it expand. We cannot physically use all of it. We need to sleep, rest, have some social time, and family time to balance our lives. Many of us look back on our daily activity in frustration. We are bombarded by issues from many sources: subordinates and coworkers, family, friends. The other day I spent 6 hours working with tech service trying to get my computer to operate properly. Boy, was I frustrated that day. By the end of the day, things did not get done. Important tasks were delayed. We decided we often come to the conclusion that we have a little control of what we do and the time that we spend. So the big question is, can we make this all go away? Is there a magic wand? And if there is none, must we accept things the way they are? The answer is no. We cannot make them go away. But in the middle of this seemingly chaotic situation, we may be able to create enough order to move to a higher level of productivity and feel satisfied at the end of the day of what we have accomplished. Over time, we have been exposed to myths that have crept into our attitudes about time. We hear them tell us these myths. We hear it from others, and we often tell them to others ourselves. There are many of them, but let's just explore a few. The more you sweat, the more you get. We might call this the bucket of sweat syndrome. Edison is quoted as saying, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Hard work and success are related, but so are hard work and failure. Burning the midnight oil. Results are not directly proportioned to the time spent pursuing the goal. Life needs balance. Long hours create procrastination. Parkinson's law states, work expands to fill the time allotted. During my first few years in college, we often stayed up all night studying for exam, leaving us less than 100% alert the next day in class. We later learned the hard way to study as we went and get a good night's sleep the night before. The best way to get things done is to do it yourself. This sure does feel easy. No checking up, no training, no worrying about another person's ability. Well, do you do your own dentistry? Do you do your own accounting? We need to learn to delegate, and delegation and empowerment is part of a manager or leader's job, not doing it yourself. We work best under pressure. This is the ultimate defense of procrastination and self-delusion. Once I learned that staying up all night in college cramming for exams didn't work, my grades improved. Pressure made us far less effective and increases the probability of mistakes with no time to correct them. Murphy's Law states, nothing is as easy as it looks. Everything takes longer than you expect, and whatever will go wrong, it'll go wrong at the worst possible time. The path to developing and implementing a time strategy starts by understanding your current use of time. Start by creating a time matrix for each day of the week. A sheet of graph paper laid out like the illustration on this page would be a great benefit. Now each day record what activities you do during each hour. I know this will be difficult and almost silly. You'll feel silly walking around with a pad and writing things down that you do. Do the best you can. The results will provide for an understanding of generally how you divide up your day, how much time you spend in what types of activities. Now place these activities within this time matrix. The purpose of this exercise and illustration is to show that much of your time is spent either in the lower two sections, not important but urgent, and not important and not urgent, and the upper left-hand sector, important and urgent. As we move forward looking at how we can increase the amount of our time usage, we want to move more of our time into sector 2, important but not urgent. This is where planning occurs. And in polarizing and planning, prioritizing and planning will result in an improved use of time. So we have to make our plans based on our priority of goals. Now, much of us will develop a plan to make more effective use of our time, but we will concentrate our work or professional side. What are my sales goals? What are my project goals? What are my personal development goals? Now, as is shown in this life wheel illustration, there are two parts to our lives, the personal side and the professional side. The illustration shows two cog wheels, one representing the personal side and one the professional side. Within these cog wheels are segments which represent part of each side of our lives. The point here is that if all segments are not fully developed, one of the cogs will not clearly engage with the other wheel, and the results will be that the wheels will not smoothly run together. So don't just set goals on the professional side, set them also on the personal side. For example, Saturday morning from 7 to 12 p.m. is dedicated to spending with my children. Thursday night is date night. 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. is my time on the treadmill. Without this attention to the personal side, the wheels will not interact smoothly and productivity will be lost. Now, of course, we can spend a lot of time on learning how to write effective goals and practicing writing them and also implementing them. But let's just cover some of the basics. First of all, we ask you to develop SMART goals. By that we mean S, specific. Now, if I wanted to develop a healthier lifestyle, I got to be very specific of what my goal is going to be there. It might involve eating habits, it might involve sleeping habits, exercise habits, or losing weight. Let's pick losing weight. Losing weight is a specific goal. Having a healthier lifestyle is not specific. Those goals must be measurable. If I'm going to lose weight, I have to say how many pounds I'm going to lose. Let's say 10, because I can measure on the scale every day my weight. They have to be achievable. I give the example of going to the dog tracks in Florida and watching the greyhounds race. They chase this rabbit around the track, and they never catch the rabbit, but they don't learn not to chase the rabbit. If a human was doing that, they would figure out pretty quickly that that goal of catching the rabbit was not achievable, and they would give up and find something else to do with their day. Goals have to be realistically high. We don't want to accept the status quo. If I did $1 million worth of sales this year, I don't. I want to do a little bit better next year, so that I have a challenge. And finally, they have to be time based. When am I going to lose these 10 pounds? In the next month? In the next 2 months? Pick a time that that goal is to be achieved. When we start to think about goals in multiple areas, we develop a whole list of goals. We might develop 10 different goals that we want to achieve. I want to lose weight. I want to increase my sales output, improve my public speaking skills. But when we can't do all of those at once, we don't have the time or the resources to do them once. So we have to learn what are the top 2 or 3 most important goals and work on those first. When when those are done, we can pick another 3. We now, once we've prioritized those goals, we want to work them into our time schedule. We want to develop a step-by-step plan to achieve those goals and put them in our time schedule. Let's say we want to run a 5K run in 2 months. Well, the first week we would start off trying to run several times a week, and we'll run a K or a kilometer, and then the next week too, and so forth. These planning steps need to be put into our time planner schedule. Habits dedicate our habits dictate a large part of our waking hours. Our morning routine, driving to work, eating lunch are all examples of habits which require little forethought. These habits, which improve productivity, these habits do. Can you imagine asking a lunch companion not to talk during lunch so you could concentrate on cutting your food and eating it? The opposite is also true. Some of these habits distract from productivity. Needing to leave the office and go outside for a smoke is such a habit. Procrastination is also a non-productive habit. Of course, we've made great strides in breaking some of our bad habits like smoking or eating too much. But that is hard work and we often revert. So let me suggest that the best thing to do is build productive habits which will eventually crowd out the non-productive habits. How about don't interrupt a task to continuously check email. Check email at least 3 designated times during the day. First during the morning, maybe after lunch, and at the end of the workday. Don't let it interrupt other tasks that you're doing. Let me suggest you start meetings on time and complete them on time. Have stand-up meetings so no one gets too comfortable. They will be glad when it's over, but its purpose will be served. Make a habit of starting your day at least 15 minutes before the official start time. Make a habit to plan your day as if everything had to be done by 4 o'clock. This minimizes procrastination. Make a to-do list for the end at the end of each day for the next day. Cross off the next day when those items are completed. You feel better that you've achieved something. So, what can we conclude through this brief conversation? First of all, reject the myths that creep into our attitudes about the use of habits. Reject them. Maximize your time in the non-urgent but important segment of that time matrix. Balance the personal and professional side of your life. Start with SMART goals, but make sure you have them both on the professional and the personal side. And finally, start with SMART goals. And finally, create productive habits. Business coaching can be constructive and helpful in helping you make these changes. Change doesn't come easy, and there is always a tendency to return to the past. We invite you to continue with this conversation by emailing us, bob@plangoals.com, or giving us a call at 910-575-1286. Thank you for attending this session, and Feel free to